The great hall of the Kaldrith High Council gleamed with lights from 1,000 worlds. High Counselor Thelixus stood at the center, his forearms spread wide as he read the transmission that had arrived 3 days ago. The other council members watched him with curious eyes. "They call themselves humans," Thelixus said, his voice filled with amusement. "From a planet called Earth. They wish to establish diplomatic relations with our empire." One of the younger counselors leaned forward. "What do we know about them?" Thelixus activated a holographic display. A small blue planet appeared, spinning slowly. Single world. No colonies. They barely have fusion drives. Their fastest ships would take them 50 years to reach our nearest outpost. He paused and smiled. "They are primitives playing at being space explorers." The council chamber filled with laughter. The Kaldrith Empire stretched across 47 star systems. They had conquered worlds, built cities on dead planets, and commanded fleets that could darken the skies of entire solar systems. And now these humans from their single planet wanted to talk as equals. "What do they offer?" asked Counselor Mervix, the head of trade operations. "Resources. Technology sharing. Cultural exchange." Thelixus made a dismissive gesture. "They speak of peace and friendship. They send us mathematical formulas and music, as if we care about their primitive songs." Mervix's eyes brightened with interest, but not for the reasons the humans hoped. "Their system has resources? Rich asteroid fields, gas giants with rare minerals, and they are too weak to defend any of it." Thelixus closed the hologram. "I propose we classify them as Tier 5 primitives, not worth formal recognition." The vote was unanimous. Earth's first contact message would receive a standard automated response, nothing more. The humans would learn their place in the galaxy's natural order. 3 weeks later, a human ship arrived at Border Station Carvel 9. It was small, perhaps twice the size of a Kaldrith personal shuttle. The hull was plain metal, marked with symbols in the human language. Station Commander Vorn watched it approach on his monitors. "They request permission to dock," his communications officer reported. "They say they carry an ambassador who wishes to speak with council representatives." Vorn studied the small vessel. It moved slowly, cautiously, like a child learning to walk. Its engines were crude fusion drives burning bright and inefficient. "Denied. Tell them we have no time for diplomatic meetings with minor species." The communications officer hesitated. "Sir, they have traveled for 6 months to get here." "The ambassador specifically requests—" "I said denied." Vorn's voice was sharp. "Send them the standard rejection. If they want to talk to the Empire, they can submit a formal petition through the proper channels. That process takes approximately 15 standard years." The human ship held position for 3 hours. During that time, they sent 17 more requests, each one polite and patient. They explained that their ambassador had been chosen carefully, that their government had spent years preparing for this moment, that they only wanted a chance to speak. Vorn ignored all of them. Finally, a new message arrived. This one was different, a woman's voice speaking in perfect Kaldrith language. "My name is Commander Elena Vasquez of the Earth vessel Olive Branch. We came in peace. We asked only for respect and dialogue. I see now that you do not grant either to those you consider beneath you. We will leave. But remember this day, Commander Vorn. Remember that you had the chance to meet us as friends." The ship turned and accelerated away, heading back toward the vast darkness between stars. Vorn watched it go and felt nothing. Perhaps the smallest hint of curiosity about how they had learned Kaldrith language so perfectly, but nothing more. He had denied docking requests from hundreds of minor species over his career. These humans were no different. He filed a brief report. Human diplomatic vessel departed after denied docking. No issues. Species shows no threat potential. Back on the capital world of Kaldrith Prime, High Counselor Thelixus received word of the encounter. He smiled and marked the human file as closed. They tried and failed. Now they understand how the galaxy works. But Counselor Mervix had other ideas. He called a private meeting with the heads of the 3 largest mining corporations in the Empire. "The human system is undefended," he told them. "Rich resources. No military presence. Their single diplomatic ship has left our space." The corporate leaders looked at each other with growing interest. "You are suggesting—" "I am suggesting nothing officially," Mervix said carefully. "But if private vessels were to begin mining operations in unclaimed space, and if that space happened to be in the Sol system, well, the Council would have no reason to object. The humans are not a recognized government. Their territory is not protected by any treaty. Within days, the mining fleets began preparing for departure, massive corporate vessels, each one carrying enough equipment to strip an asteroid to its core. They would go to the Sol system, take what they wanted, and the humans would be powerless to stop them. After all, what could primitives do against the might of Kaldrith industry? On the bridge of the Olive Branch, Commander Vasquez watched her homeworld grow larger in the viewing screen. Earth bright and blue, wrapped in white clouds. She had failed in her mission. The Kaldrith had refused to even speak with her. She opened a secure channel to Earth Command. "This is Vasquez." First contact was unsuccessful. "They view us as primitives, not worth their time." She paused, choosing her next words carefully. "Recommend we proceed to Protocol 7. The response came after a long silence. "Confirmed, Commander. Protocol 7 is authorized. Return home, and tell the crew they did well. Sometimes the best way to learn about an enemy is to let them show you who they really are." Vasquez closed the channel and looked at her first officer. "Set course for Earth, best speed." "Yes, ma'am." He hesitated. "Do you think they will come?" "Oh, they will come," Vasquez said quietly. "They think we are weak. They think we are afraid. They will come and they will take what they want because that is what empires do to those they see as lesser. And then," Vasquez smiled, but there was no humor in it, "and then they will learn that humans are very good at one thing. We are very, very good at teaching hard lessons to those who mistake patience for weakness." The Olive Branch turned toward home, and behind it, the Kaldrith Empire prepared for what they thought would be an easy harvest. None of them knew that Earth had been waiting for this moment. None of them knew what waited in the darkness beyond Neptune, silent and hidden. None of them knew that humanity's real message was yet to come. 6 months passed like a whisper in the void of space. The Kaldrith mining fleets arrived in the Sol system without ceremony or announcement. They simply appeared, dropped out of faster-than-light travel, and began scanning for the richest targets. Fleetmaster Gorvash stood on the bridge of the corporate flagship Eternal Prophet. Before him, holographic displays showed dozens of asteroids, each one heavy with precious metals and rare elements. "Begin operations on Ceres first," he ordered. "Then move to the larger asteroids in the belt." His second officer looked uncertain. "Sir, should we not announce our presence to the humans? Inform them of our intentions?" Gorvash laughed, a deep rumbling sound. "Inform them? We own this system now, whether they know it or not. The High Council classified them as Tier 5. They have no rights here." He waved a hand dismissively. "But if it makes you feel better, broadcast a general message. Tell them we are claiming the asteroid belt for the Kaldrith Empire." The message was sent. It was not a request. It was not a negotiation. It was a simple statement of fact, delivered in cold, formal language. The humans had 3 days to acknowledge Kaldrith authority over all resources in their system beyond their home planet. The humans did not respond. "See," Gorvash said. "They know they cannot fight us. Begin mining." The Kaldrith ships moved into position. Massive drills descended onto Ceres, biting into rock that had floated untouched for billions of years. Refineries powered up, their fusion cores burning bright against the darkness. Cargo vessels waited in formation, ready to carry the wealth back to Kaldrith space. For 3 days, the operation proceeded smoothly. The mining ships worked around the clock, extracting millions of tons of ore. Gorvash sent regular reports back to Counselor Mervix. Everything was perfect. The humans remained silent. On the 4th day, a ship appeared on their sensors. It was small, barely larger than a patrol craft. It broadcast on all frequencies, its message simple and direct. "This is Earth Patrol Vessel Guardian. You are in violation of territorial space. Cease all operations immediately and withdraw from this system. This is your only warning." The bridge crew of the Eternal Prophet looked at their fleetmaster. Gorvash stared at the screen showing the tiny human ship, and then he began to laugh. "One ship. They send one ship to challenge our entire fleet." He opened a channel to his escort cruisers. "Destroy it." 2 Kaldrith warships broke formation and accelerated toward the human vessel. The Guardian tried to evade, its engines flaring bright as it changed course, but it was slow compared to Kaldrith military craft. The first energy blast caught it amidships, tearing through its hull. The second blast finished what the first had started. The Guardian broke apart in a flash of light and metal. 89 humans died in that moment, their bodies scattered across the void along with the pieces of their ship. Gorvash watched the debris field spread and felt nothing. Continue mining operations, he said, and send a message to Earth. Tell them that any further interference will be met with the same response. But Earth sent no response. No protests. No threats. No diplomatic messages demanding justice for their dead. There was only silence. The Kaldrith fleets continued their work for 3 more weeks. They stripped Ceres down to bedrock. They hollowed out 6 more asteroids. Their cargo ships made 4 trips back to Kaldrith space, each one loaded with enough resources to power a small colony for decades. And through it all, Earth remained silent. It is strange, Gorvash's second officer said one day. They had the courage to send 1 ship, but after we destroyed it, nothing. No revenge. No second attempt. Just silence, Gorvash shrugged. They learned their lesson. They know they cannot win. This is how primitives behave when faced with superior force. They submit. But not everyone was so confident. At Border Station Carvel 9, Commander Vorn studied his sensor reports with growing unease. Something was wrong. He could feel it in his bones. Where are the humans? He asked his sensor officer. Sir? The humans. Before we detected their ships constantly. Cargo vessels between Earth and Mars. Construction shuttles around their moon. Mining craft in the asteroid belt. Now there is nothing. The whole system has gone dark. The sensor officer checked his instruments. You are right, sir. No civilian traffic detected for the past 2 months. No broadcasts from Earth. No communication satellites active. It is like they have all vanished. Orn felt a chill run through him. He had been a soldier before becoming a station commander. He had fought in 3 wars. And one thing he had learned was that silence before battle was more terrifying than any war cry. He sent a priority message to the High Council. Urgent. Human activity in Sol system has ceased completely. No civilian presence detected. Recommend immediate withdrawal of mining fleets and military observation. Species behavior inconsistent with submission. The response came 3 days later, and it was not what Vorin had hoped for. High Counselor Thelxus himself replied, his message dripping with contempt. Commander Vorn, your paranoia is noted and dismissed. The humans are hiding because they are afraid. This is natural behavior for a conquered species. Mining operations will continue. In fact, we are expanding them to Jupiter's moons. Vorn read the message twice and then sat back in his chair. He had done his duty. He had warned them. But they would not listen. On Earth, in a bunker deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, Commander Vasquez stood before a wall of screens. Each one showed a different part of the Sol system. Mars, where the construction yards had been working day and night for 6 months. Luna, where the weapon platforms waited in silence. And further out beyond Neptune, where the shipyards floated in darkness, invisible to Kaldrith sensors. Status report, she said quietly. An officer looked up from his console. All ships are ready. Fleet is at full combat status. Crews have completed training. Weapons are charged and locked on target. And the Kaldrith mining fleets? Still in the asteroid belt. They have expanded operations to 3 new sites. Intelligence suggests they are planning to establish a permanent presence. Vasquez nodded slowly. She thought of the 89 crew members of the Guardian. She had known some of them personally. Good people, with families waiting at home. They had died doing their duty, buying Earth the time it needed. How long until we are ready? She asked. 72 hours, ma'am. Then in 72 hours, we will teach the Kaldrith Empire a lesson they will never forget. Vasquez looked at the screens, at the Kaldrith ships tearing apart humanity's home system. We gave them every chance. We asked for peace. We sent diplomats. We even sent a warning. Her voice hardened. Now they get to see what happens when humanity stops asking and starts telling. She turned to her communications officer. Send the activation code to all fleet commanders. Operation Retribution begins in 72 hours. And may God have mercy on them, because we will not. The message went out, carried on encrypted channels that no Kaldrith sensor could detect. Across the Sol system, in hidden bases and secret shipyards, humanity prepared for war. Not the war the Kaldrith expected. Not a desperate defense by a primitive species. No, this would be something the galaxy had never seen. This would be a demonstration of what happened when you mistook human patience for human weakness. And the Kaldrith, still laughing at the primitives from Earth, had no idea what was coming. 3 months had passed since the Guardian was destroyed. 3 months of silence from Earth. 3 months of Kaldrith mining ships tearing resources from the Sol system, like wolves feeding on a kill. In the Grand Council chamber on Caldrith Prime, High Counselor Thelexis called an emergency session, but it was not an emergency of fear. It was a celebration. "My fellow counselors," he announced, his voice booming through the hall, "the Sol system operation has exceeded all projections. We have extracted enough resources to fund our expansion into 3 new systems. The humans have offered no resistance, no protests, no military action. They have accepted our dominance." Counselor Mervick stood, pride evident in his posture. "The mining corporations wish to establish a permanent base in the system. Within a year we could have full colonization. The human homeworld would be ours to oversee." The council erupted in approval. Some counselors raised their arms in celebration. Others discussed the profits that would flow from controlling an entire star system. Only a few voices raised concerns, and they were quickly silenced. At the back of the chamber, a junior analyst named Kelthir stood with a datapad clutched in his hands. He had been trying to get someone to listen to his report for weeks. Now, with the council in such high spirits, he knew it was his only chance. "High Counselor," he called out, his voice shaking slightly, "I request permission to present urgent data regarding the human situation." The chamber fell quiet. Thelexis turned to look at the young analyst with irritation. "This is a celebration, Kelthir. Your report can wait." "With respect, sir, it cannot." Kelthir stepped forward, activating his datapad. A hologram appeared above the council floor. "I have been monitoring the Sol system carefully. There are anomalies that concern me greatly," Thelexis sighed. "Very well. Make it brief." Kelthir's hands trembled as he expanded the hologram. 3 months ago, human industrial output was measured at standard levels for a Tier 5 civilization. Then suddenly all civilian activity ceased. He showed a graph that dropped to 0, but their power consumption did not decrease. In fact, it increased by 4,000%. A few counselors leaned forward with interest. Most looked bored. "That makes no sense," Counselor Mervick said. "If their cities went dark, their power use should have dropped." "Exactly, sir. Which means the power is being used elsewhere. I believe they have moved their industrial operations to hidden locations." Kelthir showed another set of data. "We have also detected massive energy signatures on Mars and their moon. The patterns suggest large-scale construction." Thelexis waved a dismissive hand. "They are building bunkers, hiding places. This proves they are afraid of us." "That was my first thought too, sir. But the scale is wrong." Kelthir pulled up more images. "These energy signatures are consistent with military shipyard operations. Large ones. And there is more. We have lost 3 deep space sensor drones in the outer Sol system. All 3 disappeared near an area beyond the 8th planet. Mechanical failures," another counselor said. "Space is dangerous, perhaps. But I analyzed the human's psychological profile based on their history." Kelthir's voice grew stronger. "This species nearly destroyed itself in global wars. They learned hard lessons about conflict. Their entire approach to first contact was designed to appear weak while gathering intelligence. They sent a diplomatic ship that somehow learned our language perfectly in less than a year. They submitted to our demands without a fight. Sir, this is not the behavior of a defeated species. This is the behavior of a species that is planning something." The council chamber filled with laughter. Thelexis himself smiled broadly. "You have a vivid imagination, young Kelthir. But you see conspiracies where there is only fear. The humans are primitives. They have no faster-than-light technology. Their weapons are crude. Even if they were building ships, what could they do against our empire? I do not know, sir. But I strongly recommend we withdraw our mining fleets until we can conduct a proper military survey of the system." More laughter echoed through the chamber. Mervick stood and addressed Kelthir directly. "Analyst, I appreciate your diligence, but you are young and inexperienced. You have never seen a conquered species before. They all behave like this. First they resist. Then they realize resistance is futile. Then they hide and hope we will leave them alone. It is a pattern as old as the Empire itself." Thelexis nodded in agreement. "Your report is noted and filed, but we will not withdraw. In fact, I am authorizing the expansion of operations. The Sol system is ours now. The humans will learn to live under Caldrith rule or they will be removed." He looked directly at Kelthir. "Is there anything else?" Kelthir wanted to say more. He wanted to show them the data he had gathered about human history. Their wars, their resilience, their tendency to come back stronger after every defeat. But he could see it in their eyes. They would not listen. Pride had blinded them. No, High Counselor. Nothing else. Good. This session is concluded. Kelthir gathered his datapad and left the chamber. In the hallway outside, he added a final note to his report. Species psychological profile inconsistent with submission behavior. Historical analysis suggests humans are capable of extreme violence when threatened. Current silence may indicate preparation for military response. Recommend extreme caution and immediate fleet withdrawal. He filed the report and watched it disappear into the Empire's vast database, where it would likely never be read again. Kelthir looked out a window at the stars beyond and felt a deep sense of unease. Somewhere out there in a system the Empire had dismissed as irrelevant, something was happening, something the Council was too arrogant to see. Meanwhile, at Border Station Carvel 9, Commander Vorn could not sleep. His instincts screamed at him that danger was coming. Every night he reviewed the sensor logs from the Sol system. Every night he saw the same thing. Nothing, absolute nothing, and that was what terrified him. He sent another message to the High Council, marked urgent. 3 months without any human civilian activity. This is not normal behavior. Request immediate military assessment of Sol system defensive capabilities. The response came quickly this time. It was from Thelxus himself. Commander Vorn, your repeated paranoid messages are becoming a nuisance. The humans are not a threat. They are hiding in fear. If you cannot accept this simple fact, perhaps you need a medical evaluation. I am recommending you for psychiatric review. Vorn read the message and felt his heart sink. They thought he was crazy. They thought he was imagining threats that did not exist. But he had been a soldier. He had learned to trust his instincts. And his instincts told him that the humans were not hiding in fear. They were waiting. In the asteroid belt, Fleetmaster Gorvash celebrated another successful extraction. His ships had just filled their largest cargo vessel to capacity, enough wealth to make him rich beyond his dreams. He called for a feast and his crew responded with enthusiasm. None of them noticed the small ripples in space that appeared at the edge of their sensor range. None of them saw the gravitational anomalies that began forming in multiple locations around the system. None of them understood that their time was measured not in days or weeks but in hours. Far beyond Neptune, in the cold darkness where no Kaldrith sensor could reach, the human fleet waited in perfect silence. 200 warships, each one larger than anything the Kaldrith had ever built. Crews sat at their stations, weapons charged and ready. They had trained for this moment for 6 months. They had prepared for every possibility. Commander Vasquez stood on the bridge of the TRW Retribution, the flagship of Earth's hidden fleet. She looked at the countdown clock on her main screen. 4 hours until operation start. 4 hours until the Kaldrith Empire learned the most important lesson in the galaxy. Never mistake human patience for human weakness. Never assume that silence means surrender. And never ever laugh at humanity. Day 127. The mining vessel Eternal Prophet floated near Ceres. Its cargo holds full of processed ore. Fleetmaster Gorvash watched the final loading procedures with satisfaction. Another successful haul. Another fortune for the Empire. Sir, his sensor officer called out. I am detecting unusual readings. Gorvash barely looked up. What kind of readings? Gravitational distortion. Massive signature. Distance approximately 50,000 kilometers. The officer's voice grew uncertain. Sir, this is not natural. Something is creating a localized spatial anomaly. Now Gorvash paid attention. He moved to the sensor station and studied the readings. The officer was right. Space itself seemed to be bending, twisting, forming a point of impossible density. What could cause this? I do not know, sir. I have never seen anything like it. The distortion grew stronger. On the main screen, space began to shimmer and tear. A point of absolute darkness appeared, expanding rapidly. And then, like a curtain being ripped away, reality split open. A ship emerged. Gorvash's breath caught in his throat. The vessel was enormous, dwarfing even the largest Kaldrith dreadnought. Its hull was dark gray, almost black, covered in angular armor plates. Weapon ports lined its sides, hundreds of them, all closed but clearly visible. At its bow, letters in human script spelled out a name. Retribution. Get me visual confirmation, Gorvash whispered. Is that a human ship? The communications officer enhanced the image. On the hull, clear as day, was a symbol. A blue planet wrapped in white clouds surrounded by stars. Earth's symbol. This was a human vessel, but it was impossible. The humans had no technology like this. They had no faster-than-light drives. They had no weapons that could threaten Kaldrith forces. This ship was larger than anything in the Imperial fleet. "Hail them," Gorvash ordered. "Demand they identify themselves and state their purpose." The communications officer tried. "No response, sir. They are not answering any hails." On the main screen, the human warship began to move. It did not accelerate slowly like ships with fusion drives. It moved like a predator, smooth and precise, positioning itself between the Kaldrith mining fleet and open space. Then the weapon ports opened. "All ships, battle stations," Gorvash shouted into the fleet channel. "Raise shields. Prepare to—" The Retribution fired. Streams of energy and metal tore through space at impossible speeds. The first mining ship, the Wealthbringer, took 3 direct hits. Its shields, designed to withstand asteroid collisions and solar radiation, failed instantly. The hull split open like paper. Atmosphere vented in a white cloud. The ship's fusion reactor went critical, and the Wealthbringer vanished in a flash of light. 8 seconds had passed. The Retribution fired again. And again. Each shot was precise, calculated, devastating. The mining ships tried to flee, their engines burning at maximum power. It did not matter. The human weapons tracked them perfectly. One by one, the Kaldrith vessels died. The Prophet Seeker destroyed the Golden Harvest. Cut in half, the Eternal Venture vaporized. Gorvash watched in horror as his fleet was torn apart. "Return fire," he screamed. "All escort vessels, engage that ship." 2 Kaldrith military cruisers, each one designed for combat, moved to intercept. Their plasma cannons charged and fired, sending bolts of superheated matter toward the human warship. The shots were true, direct hits on the Retribution's hull. The bolts splashed against energy shields that made them look like water hitting stone. The human ship did not even slow down. The cruisers fired again, emptying their weapons at maximum rate. The Retribution absorbed every shot, and then responded with a single salvo from its main guns. Both Kaldrith cruisers exploded simultaneously. 34 seconds had passed since the human ship opened fire. 8 Kaldrith vessels were destroyed. Over 4,000 crew members were dead, and the Retribution had not taken a single point of damage. Gorvash's hands shook as he activated the emergency beacon. "This is Fleetmaster Gorvash to any Kaldrith forces. We are under attack by human military vessels. Unknown technology. We cannot fight them. Send reinforcements immediately. Send everything." The beacon transmitted across space, carrying the desperate message back to Kaldrith Command. But even as it sent, Gorvash's sensor officer made a sound of pure terror. "Sir, sensors are detecting multiple spatial anomalies. Across the entire system. How many?" 47. No, wait. More appearing. "Sir, they are everywhere." On the sensor display, reality was tearing open in dozens of locations. At every mining site, near every Kaldrith ship, around the gas giants, along the asteroid belt. Everywhere the Kaldrith had established a presence, space itself was ripping apart. And from each tier a human warship emerged. They were all like the Retribution. Massive, heavily armed, moving with the precision of a military force that had trained together for years. They took up positions around every Kaldrith vessel, surrounding them, cutting off escape routes. Gorvash counted 48 human warships in total. His fleet had 20 mining vessels and 6 escorts. The humans outnumbered them and outgunned them by an impossible margin. "Open a channel to the human ships," he said quietly. "We surrender. Tell them we surrender." But before his communications officer could send the message, every human ship fired at once. The few remaining Kaldrith vessels that had not yet been destroyed were eliminated in a coordinated strike. The execution was perfect, simultaneous, overwhelming. Only the Eternal Prophet remained, somehow untouched, in the center of the carnage. Gorvash understood why immediately. They wanted survivors. They wanted someone to carry the message back. Then a transmission came through. A human voice speaking perfect Kaldrith, with an accent that was cold and precise. A woman's voice. "I am Commander Elena Vasquez of the Terran Defense Fleet. You were warned. 6 months ago, we came to your border in peace. We asked for dialogue. We asked for respect. You laughed at us. You dismissed us. You came to our home and took what you wanted. You killed our people without hesitation or remorse." On the screen, an image appeared. A human woman in a dark blue uniform, standing on a bridge that looked more advanced than anything in the Kaldrith fleet. Her eyes were hard, her expression unforgiving. You thought we were weak. You thought we were primitives. You thought we had nothing to fear from you. Vasquez leaned forward. You were wrong on all counts. We gave you every chance to choose peace. You chose violence. So we responded with overwhelming force. Gorvash found his voice. Please, we surrender. We will leave your system. We will never return. You have 24 hours to evacuate all Kaldrith forces from Sol Space. Take your wounded. Take your dead if you can, but leave. After 24 hours, any Kaldrith presence in this system will be considered an act of war. Vasquez's expression did not change. And you do not want to see what humanity considers war? What you witnessed today was not war. It was a warning. We can do far worse. The transmission ended. Gorvash sat in his command chair, surrounded by the wreckage of his fleet. Debris floated past his ship. Bodies drifted in the void. The pride of Kaldrith mining corporations was reduced to scrap metal and memories. And through it all, the human warships waited in perfect formation, their weapons still powered, their presence a reminder of how badly the Empire had miscalculated. The Kaldrith had laughed at humanity. Now humanity was teaching them why that had been a mistake. And the lesson was written in fire and death across the Sol system. The Kaldrith High Council chamber had never seen such chaos. Councilors shouted over each other, demanding answers, calling for military action, or simply sitting in stunned silence. The emergency session had been called within an hour of receiving Gorvash's desperate transmission. High Councilor Thelxis stood at the center, his confidence from 3 months ago completely gone. His hands trembled as he reviewed the reports. 4,000 dead, 12 ships destroyed, and 48 human warships, each one larger and more powerful than anything the Empire had ever built. Fleet Admiral Kethros slammed his fist on the table. This is an outrage, an attack on Imperial forces. We must respond with overwhelming military power. I will personally lead 12 battle fleets to the Sol system and crush these primitives. They are not primitives. The shout came from the back of the chamber. Everyone turned to see Junior Analyst Kelthir pushing his way forward. I tried to warn you. I told you the humans were not behaving like a defeated species. Thelxis pointed at him. You? You said they might be building ships. You did not say they had technology beyond our understanding. Because I did not know. Kelthir activated his data pad, projecting images for all to see. But I warned you that something was wrong. You did not listen. None of you listened. You were too busy celebrating your easy victory. Counselor Mervik stood. The human ships. How did they appear? What kind of drive system allows for instantaneous travel? Kelthir pulled up more data. I have been analyzing the sensor recordings from the attack. The humans do not use faster-than-light drives like ours. They use something completely different. They create artificial wormholes. They tear holes in space itself and step through them. He paused, letting that sink in. Do you understand what this means? They do not need to travel between stars. They can appear anywhere instantly. No warning. No way to track them. The council chamber fell silent. Admiral Kethros shook his head. That is impossible. Wormhole generation requires power sources we can only theorize about. The calculations alone would need computational systems far beyond what we have, Kelthir interrupted. Not beyond what the humans have. Admiral, everything we thought we knew about the humans was wrong. Everything. He pulled up more files. I accessed their public information networks. The data they shared during first contact. I studied their history, and, Thelxis demanded, the humans have been spacefaring for over 200 years, not 20 like we thought. 200. They have colonies in 31 star systems. They have been hiding them from galactic observation using advanced stealth technology. The diplomatic vessel we turned away? Its weapon systems were more advanced than our newest dreadnought. They could have destroyed Border Station Carvel 9 at any time, but they did not. They chose peace first. Counselor Mervik sat down slowly. This cannot be true. Why would they hide such capabilities? Kelthir showed them images from human history. Cities destroyed by atomic weapons. Entire populations wiped out in wars. Because they nearly destroyed themselves once. They learned a terrible lesson about showing all your weapons to a potential enemy. So they developed a new strategy. Appear weak. Gather intelligence. And if attacked, respond with overwhelming force that no one saw coming. They deceived us, Thelxis said weakly. No. They offered peace. We refused. They offered dialogue. We laughed. They warned us to leave their system. We killed their people. Kelthier's voice was hard now. We deceived ourselves. We saw what we wanted to see. We assumed that because they appeared primitive, they were primitive. We made the mistake that every arrogant empire makes. We underestimated our opponent. Admiral Kethros stood again. Then we will correct that mistake. I will take our battle fleets and do what? Kelthier interrupted. Lose them all. Admiral, the humans destroyed our mining fleet in 11 minutes. 11 minutes. Not hours. Not days, minutes, and they did it with 48 ships. Do you know how many ships they have? Do you know where their shipyards are? Do you know what other weapons they possess? No, the Admiral admitted. Exactly. Neither do I. Neither does anyone in this room. And that is why you cannot attack them. You would be leading our fleets into a battle where we know nothing about the enemy's true strength. Thelixus looked around the chamber at the other counselors. Many of them were nodding slowly. The fear was spreading. What do you suggest we do? Accept their terms. Withdraw completely from their space. And hope they are willing to negotiate a peace treaty. Negotiate? With them? Mervik sounded outraged. We are the Kaldrith Empire. We do not negotiate with lesser species. They are not lesser, Kelthier shouted. When will you understand? They are not lesser. They are more advanced than us in ways we are only beginning to comprehend. They have technology we cannot match, and they have proven they are willing to use it. The chamber doors burst open. A communications officer ran in, his face pale. High Counselor, we are receiving a transmission from the Sol system. It is being broadcast on all frequencies. They want you to see this. A screen lit up showing the blue planet Earth, but the view was pulling back, showing more of the system. And there, in orbit around the human homeworld, were structures, massive orbital platforms bristling with weapons, defense stations that could target anything approaching the planet, and ships. So many ships. The display showed a count. 200 warships in defensive formation, 500 more in various stages of construction, weapon platforms that could crack a moon, energy shields that could protect the entire planet. And at the center of it all, Commander Vasquez appeared on screen. Kaldrith Empire, you have 22 hours remaining to evacuate our space. I want to show you what awaits if you choose to stay, or if you ever think about returning with hostile intent. The view shifted. The human fleet began a demonstration. 50 ships fired simultaneously at a target asteroid. The asteroid, larger than some of the Empire's capital ships, simply ceased to exist. Vaporized completely. This is a fraction of our defensive capability, Vasquez continued. We have planetary shields that can withstand sustained bombardment. We have weapon platforms that can engage targets across the entire system simultaneously. We have ships that can appear anywhere without warning and strike before you know they are there. She leaned forward, her eyes locked on the camera. We wanted peace. You taught us we needed to show strength. So here it is. Our strength. Our technology. Our will to defend our home, she paused. But we still prefer peace to war. Withdraw your forces. Send new diplomats. Real ones who understand that we are equals, not subjects. Negotiate in good faith. Establish fair trade and mutual respect. Do this and we can move past this tragedy. And if we refuse? It was Admiral Kethros who asked the question. Vasquez's expression did not change. Then you will learn why humanity dominated as the apex predator on our planet for 200,000 years. We do not seek war, but we excel at it when we have no choice. You attacked us. You killed our people. You thought we were weak. We have proven otherwise. The question now is whether you are wise enough to learn from your mistake. The transmission ended. The council chamber sat in absolute silence. Finally, Thelixus spoke, his voice barely a whisper. Admiral Kethros, order all fleets to stand down. Send word to the mining corporations. Full evacuation of Sol system within 20 hours. He looked at Kelthier. Prepare a formal diplomatic proposal. Include reparations for the families of the humans we killed. Include territorial recognition. Include trade agreements favorable to Earth. Sir, Mervix protested weakly. No. Thelixus's shout echoed through the chamber. Enough arrogance. Enough pride. We made a terrible mistake and 4,000 of our people paid for it with their lives. I will not sacrifice more because we cannot accept that we were wrong. He stood looking at each counselor. The humans offered us peace. They offered it honestly and openly. We spat in their face, and they still even now offer us a chance to step back from war. We will take that chance. We will negotiate. And we will never ever make the mistake of underestimating them again. The vote was unanimous. 10 years later, the story of humanity's emergence had spread across the galaxy. The Kaldrith Empire was now one of Earth's most careful trading partners. The treaty signed after the Sol incident, as it came to be known, was studied in military academies across known space. At Border Station Carvel 9, now renamed Peace Station Alpha as part of the treaty, former Commander Vorn taught cadets from a dozen different species. His first lesson never changed. Never judge a species by first contact, he told them, his voice carrying the weight of experience. The humans appeared weak. They sent a single diplomatic ship. We turned them away without even granting them a meeting. We thought they would submit. We were wrong. A young cadet raised a hand. Sir, how did they hide their true capabilities so effectively? Vorn smiled sadly. Because they learned from their own mistakes. Humans nearly destroyed themselves in their own wars. They learned that showing all your weapons makes you a target. So they developed a strategy. Seek peace first. Always offer dialogue. But keep your true strength hidden until you have no choice but to reveal it. He paused. They gave us every chance. Every opportunity to choose the right path. We chose wrong. And 4,000 souls paid the price for our arrogance. On Earth, Commander Vasquez stood in her garden, looking up at the stars. She was retired now, teaching at the Terran Defense Academy. Her students called her a hero. She had never felt comfortable with that title. She thought about that day. The day the retribution appeared in Sol space. The day humanity stopped asking and started telling. The day the galaxy learned that humans were not to be trifled with. It had been necessary. She knew that. But it was not something to celebrate. War never was. Her grandson ran up holding a toy spaceship. Grandma, tell me again about the big battle. She picked him up, hugging him close. Maybe when you are older. For now, let me tell you about the day we tried to make peace. That is the story that matters most. Because in the end, that was the lesson. Humanity had not won because they were strong. They had won because they were patient. Because they tried peace first. Because they understood that true strength was not just the ability to destroy, but the wisdom to know when to hold back. And that was a lesson the galaxy would not soon forget.